I saw a guy slap my wife's butt. When I confronted her, she said it's normal as it was their friend dynamic. Now her best friend is calling me, saying it was a harmless gesture. I'm not buying that BS. My wife and I were out with another couple we're pretty close with. They have a daughter, we have a daughter, and we all decided to have a fun day out at this big park in the city. It was one of those perfect family days where the kids are running around, playing, and the adults get to chat and catch up. When we were leaving, the kids were exhausted, and we were packing up, getting everything into the cars. My wife was helping the other couple load up some stuff into their car, and I was buckling our daughter into her seat when I saw the other husband slap my wife's butt. I'm not talking about a light tap either. It was this quick, casual slap, like it was the most normal thing in the world to do. I was absolutely stunned. I had no idea how to process it. My wife didn't seem fazed, she just kept loading the bags like it was no big deal. Meanwhile, I'm standing there in shock, and my first instinct is to walk over and say something. But I didn't. We had our daughter and their daughter right there, and I didn't want to make a scene in front of the kids. So, I just let it go for the moment. In the car, everything was normal. The conversation was light, talking about how much fun the day was, making plans for the next time we could hang out with the other couple. But in the back of my mind, I was boiling. When we got home and put our daughter to bed, I finally brought it up. I asked my wife, what was that back there? She looked confused for a second, like she didn't know what I was talking about. So, I explained. He slapped your butt. What the fuck was that? Her face changed, and she kind of shrugged it off. She said something like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just how we are. We're comfortable with each other. That really didn't sit well with me. I said, so, you're telling me it's normal for him to slap your butt? How is that fucking okay? She got defensive and told me that it's just something they do in a playful way, that there's no hidden meaning behind it. Apparently, this was part of their friend dynamic with that couple, and it was all totally harmless. She said they're close, and it's not like it's anything sexual or inappropriate in her eyes. I wasn't buying that shit. I said, so, if it's so normal, can I go around slapping our female friends' butts too, half joking, but honestly trying to see how far this normal thing goes. She looked at me like I was crazy and immediately said, no, of course not. That would be weird because you don't have that kind of comfortable relationship with any other woman. It's different with them. At that point, I was pissed. That's BS, I said. It's a double standard. The argument escalated, and eventually, she started tearing up and told me I was overreacting. She grabbed her keys and said she needed some space, that she was going to her friend's house. About an hour later, her friend called me and told me I was blowing things way out of proportion. She said I should trust my wife, and that I'm overthinking this whole thing. That it was just some playful, harmless gesture, and I'm the one turning it into a big deal. Now, here I am, stuck wondering if I'm just being old-fashioned or something. Is this kind of behavior actually normal, and I've just been living under a rock? Is this some new level of comfort that friends have with each other nowadays? Or am I right to feel like it's completely inappropriate? I trust my wife, but that doesn't mean I should just be okay with her friend's husband slapping her ass, right? Am I overreacting here? Update. Hey everyone. First off, thanks for all the advice and support on my original post. I read through so many comments, and it was honestly a relief to see that the majority of you agreed with me, that what happened wasn't normal, and I wasn't overreacting. Some of you suggested I talk things out with my wife, while others recommended checking her phone to see if there was anything going on behind the scenes. I decided to go with the latter first. So, after my wife came back from her friend's house that night, we didn't talk much. She was clearly expecting an apology from me for how I'd reacted earlier, but I wasn't about to give one. Things were tense, and I felt like the weight of what I'd seen, and what she had brushed off, was still hanging between us. The next day, we were both home because of Veterans Day, and we had already sent our daughter to my mom's for the day. I figured it was the perfect time to bring this up again, since we wouldn't be interrupted. After some awkward silence over breakfast, I straight up asked her for her phone. She immediately got defensive, saying things like, "Why are you being like this?" and "I can't believe you don't trust me." She even accused me of being paranoid and trying to control her. I told her, "What you did was wrong in my eyes, and if you want me to regain my trust, show me your phone." She huffed and puffed for a bit, clearly pissed, but she eventually handed it over. There were no text messages between her and the other husband. At first, I felt a bit of relief. But I kept looking. I'm not on social media, but I knew she was pretty active, so I started checking her apps. And that's when I found it. Messages between her and him on Instagram. They weren't overtly sexual, but they were definitely crossing a line. Things like, "You always know how to make me smile," and inside jokes that I had no clue about. Some flirty comments about how they always get each other, in ways no one else does. It was clear that they'd built some sort of emotional connection, and it definitely went beyond just being playful. I didn't read the whole thing as this much was enough. I showed it to her and asked, "What is this?" She rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, come on, it's nothing. We're just joking around. It's all harmless." I wasn't having it and said, "This isn't casual. You don't flirt with another man like this and think I'm dumb enough to be okay with it, and you've clearly been crossing boundaries for a while now, and I'm not about to sit here and let you pretend like this is fucking normal." That's when she broke down. She started crying, begging for forgiveness. Saying she didn't know it was that serious, that she didn't mean for it to get this far, and that it was all just a mistake. She swore up and down that nothing physical had ever happened between them, that it was just words. But to me, it didn't matter. The trust was gone. I told her, "Well, now you know. This is over." She cried harder, trying to convince me that we could work through this, but I've made up my mind. This is going to be my last update. I've decided to proceed with a divorce, and I've already reached out to a lawyer. I want to get through this as quickly as possible for my sake, but I know it's going to be hard, especially with our daughter involved. I won't tell her the full story until she's old enough to understand, but I refuse to stay in a relationship where I'm disrespected like this. Thanks again to everyone who commented and helped me see this situation for what it really was. Wish me luck.